It's finally time to make our ice cream. I'm going to make a vanilla bean ice cream, and I'm going to steep some fresh basil in the milk to give it a little bit of an herby, spring-like essence to it. I'm also going to swirl some blackberry jam and white chocolate chips into it. So this is going to be really good, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make your own ice cream. To get started, I'm going to heat 4 cups of milk and 2 cups of heavy cream in a saucepan and bring it to a simmer. And to give it a little more flavor, I'm just going to drop some basil leaves into the liquid and kind of let them steep as the liquid is heating up. It smells so good. I like putting herbs in ice cream. I also make ice cream with fresh mint, which is really good. I think the basil will be really nice with the blackberries. So I'm just going to let this come to a simmer, so I'm just getting bubbles around the edges. And then I'm going to turn it off and let it cool and just let the basil do its thing. We are bubbling, so I'm going to turn it off. And then I'm just going to add some vanilla bean paste. I love using vanilla bean paste instead of vanilla extract. You don't get the alcohol taste, but it also gives you the really pretty flecks that you definitely want in the ice cream. You want everyone to know that it's homemade, obviously, not from the store. I'm just going to stir that in. And then I'm just going to let everything sit for about 10 minutes to let the flavors all meld together and a little more of the basil to just kind of infuse into my liquids. While my milk mixture is cooling, I'm going to make the custard base. This is an egg-based ice cream because, of course, we have fresh eggs. So I'm going to crack 4 egg yolks into my bowl, separate my eggs. The yolks are going to make the ice cream really, really rich. Give it some nice flavor. So that looks good. 4 egg yolks. Okay, now I'm going to add some sugar. I've got 1.25 cups of sugar. And I'm going to add some salt. Adding salt to sweet things actually brings out the sweetness and the other flavors, so you really don't want to skimp on the salt. I want to whisk this up really well so it's nice and smooth. It's going to make a nice smooth ice cream. You can see from the color of the yolks, it's really hard to get a white ice cream. My ice cream always comes out kind of yellow because of all the great things that the chickens are eating to make their egg yolks nice and brightly colored orange. All right, that looks pretty good. Now our milk liquids should be cooled enough that I can add some of them to this egg custard and then add it all back to the pan. I'm gonna have to temper the eggs, which means slowly bringing them up to temperature, because if I just added them to my hot liquid, they're gonna start to cook and curdle. So I wanna just add a little bit of hot liquid to the eggs, whisk it in, and bring them up to temperature slowly. I have strained out the basil leaves and the liquid has cooled considerably, so now I'm going to ladle it bit by bit into the egg and whisk it up. This tempering is a technique that's used in a lot of custards and puddings and really anything that you're adding egg to if it's a hot liquid. I'm just going to add a couple ladlefuls. You don't have to add all of the liquid, but just enough to kind of make the temperature of the 2 bowls the same. It already smells like ice cream. I can smell the vanilla. Okay, now I'm just going to take my ladle out and then pour my egg into my milk mixture. I'm going to whisk as I do it, just again to make sure that the egg all incorporates without actually cooking. I'm just going to stir it up really well, then it's going to go back in the pan. I'm going to heat it up just a bit to cook the egg, and then it's going to go right into the ice cream machine. Okay, now I'm going to get my ice cream base back into the pan, and I'm going to cook it for a couple of minutes. I just want to cook the egg a little bit, thicken it up a little bit, and then we'll get it into the loaf pan and into the fridge. And again, I just kind of want some bubbles. I don't want to boil it or burn it. So just a couple of minutes just to heat it up, and once it starts to thicken just a teeny bit, we'll consider it done. We're almost there. It's starting to get foamy. It's getting a little bit thick. I can feel the bubbles on the bottom, and it's starting to steam. So I'm just going to give it another minute, and then we'll get it into the pan. Here we go. And I'm just going to carefully pour it into my loaf pan. You can use any type of heat-safe, refrigerator-safe container you want. Okay, now I'm gonna get it into the fridge for about 30 minutes until it cools to room temperature, and then get it right into the ice cream machine. Now for the fun part. We are going to put our ice cream into the ice cream machine. So I've got the insert frozen solid, and I'm just gonna pour in my liquid, which has cooled down. Make sure we get it all. And then put the insert in. There's all different types of ice cream machines. This is probably one of the more basic, super easy to use. Put the top on. Then I'm going to turn it on. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes. As it churns, it freezes the outside and then pushes it into the inside. So once you start to see the ice cream coming together and it's not liquid anymore and it's really starting to get solid, at that point you can shut it off, and we'll put it back into the loaf pan, stir our add-ins in, and then freeze it until it's solid. So now I'm going to let this run for about half an hour, come back and check it. In the meantime, I'm going to wash the dishes and get the kitchen cleaned up. That looks great. It's nice and thick and creamy, and I'm ready to get it back in my pan and stir in some add-ins. It's exactly what you want it to look like, kind of like soft serve ice cream stage. I'm going to put about a third in and then add the chips and the jam. I'm going to swirl it around so everybody gets some of all the great flavors. Bit in. It's a little bit messy, but it's definitely going to be worth it. I guess let's put a little bit more jam and then we'll call it good. Okay, now it's going to go into the freezer for about 4 hours until it's frozen solid, and then we'll have ice cream.